Ready, kids? Aye, Captain! I can't hear you!
Ahoy there, mateys. It's time to set sail on another episode of Unconstitutional Awakening, the podcast. I'm your captain, Jimbob Shorts, and tonight we're bringing back show friend Miss Vicki. Me and Bandit are going to get in here and, see what kind of good things she's been up to in the medium world since the last we spoke. She's a super awesome medium, man, that is really intuitive to a lot of things and always full of some great information and some great viewpoints, and really gets the brain going and makes you think about some things. So I'm looking forward to having this conversation with her tonight, because it's been a little while and I think it's maybe been a little bit too long, and I know you guys all like Miss Vicki out there, so I figured it was time to get her back in here. So we're gonna hit up on that tonight and see what kind of good stuff we can get into. Man, of course, anything that we talk about or any way to get back to Miss Vicki is over there at everyone's favorite website, man, unconstitutionalawakening.com. Your home for everything, well, us, man. There's all kinds of great things going on there. When you want to check in on episodes or answer those pirate questions to earn those free stickers, you just got to hop on over here to the podcast and more section, find Unconstitutional Awakening, the podcast, find the episode to answer it, or look for any of the cool things that we talked about, man, because I like to make sure I share all that stuff for you guys so that you guys go check it out for yourself as well. There's all kinds of great things over here at the website, man. Aside from that, places to watch us if all you do is listen, and listen if all you do is watch us. You can even listen right there on the show. There's that merch store there, man. Good place to find those stickers, as well as some other cool things, man. There's a whole bunch of awesome stuff in that store, as well as our friends in Liberty, Kirk Elliott, Peachy Key Creations, Ammo Can Survival, Brett Pike with Classical Learner and Homeschools Connected, and Pure Pet Wellness, man. All folks offering great alternatives to the status quo and, social norms and stuff like that, man. There's great people doing great things. And, we just can't have enough of that, I don't think. So, of course, again, like I said, anything that we talk about tonight, I'll make sure we can have as many links to it as we can with this episode, as well as links to get back to Miss Vicki, man. She's always a good person to talk to, and she will respond, man. She's good about talking to you. So she's helped out Luis and stuff here on the show as well. She's helped out all of us, I think, in one way or the other. So, oh well, enough of me and enough of this chit chat. Let's weigh anchor and set sail on the sky. And ahoy, everyone! I'm so glad everyone's here with me this evening. Bandit, thanks for joining me, buddy. Miss Vicki, thank you so much for coming back to join us this evening. We have missed you since the last time you were here. We had a blast with you last time.
Thank you. I enjoy you guys very much. So.
Well, thank you. How have things been going for you since the last time you were on?
It's been really kind of crazy.
Yeah.
The energy has just been really, really kind of crazy, and I know that I'm advancing up to my next level and things, and I'm picking up on the world energy, and March is going to be one whopper of a month.
It's been a wild 2023 already to begin with. I mean, we can't go a day without our group chat blowing up about something. Like there's always something good to talk about.
I feel like 2023 is like, do you remember the ending scene, the end part of the first Ghostbusters, when that EPA dude went into the basement
and shut off the containment unit and released all of the captured ghosts and spirits and everything at the end of Ghostbusters, and they were all just running crazy through the city.
Yeah.
I feel like 2020 that is 2023 in a nutshell now.
Well, I mean, to that, think about the popularity over the past, I'm going to say 5 or so years in what is called a dybbuk box. And I'm sure you're familiar with those, Miss Vicki. A trapped spirit inside of something. It can be a box, it can be a bottle, it can be a lamp, it can be something. And there was such a rush in popularity of them that I've seen them all over the internet, and fools opening these things. And maybe some of them were gimmicky, sure, but I've seen a couple that you get a feeling like that. Yeah, you don't mess with something like that. And
why would you do something like that?
And they're always finding some kind of buried something out there in a tomb somewhere that they don't need to be releasing. I mean, there's reasons why they put these warnings on these things,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, and you can feel the energy, because it radiates energy when those things are closed too. You can tell if it's going to be bad or if it's going to, you don't want to mess with stuff like that. And this is one thing that my guides came to me to mention here on the podcast. They did it at 3:00 in the morning when I would just fall asleep, and it was just like boom. But they wanted me to mention that there is no more playing games. This is not a game, and with the paranormal, things are really, really going to start popping off here. And it's going to be like, you remember the movie Poltergeist and how Poltergeist was?
Yeah.
It's going to be vividly. A world exorcism is going to need to be done. I'm serious. Things are going to.
Have you not noticed?
So,
the increase in natural disasters, earthquakes, storms.
There was a volcano last week too.
Volcano, the newly discovered islands in Japan. I think, and we can all agree that it is connected in one way or another. The paranormal world and Mother Nature. I think it runs hand in hand. With one is the other.
Well, the Earth is mad. The Earth is mad because the Earth is living.
Oh,
whether people want to believe it or not, it is a living.
We've discussed that before.
Miss Vicki, I try to. That's something I'll even make mention of again. That I don't mind. Like I try to explain to people that if you want to consider anything a living, breathing God amongst us, it's Earth. I mean, there's if there's anything that we could, attest to being the bringer and destroyer of life, it's this planet. And yeah, I can agree that she's fully pissed off on top of the poles making shifts and stuff. Like it's Bandit, you say it the best, bud. What is it? Earth will always what now?
It's always going to continue spinning around the sun. This rock is going to always continue spinning around the sun, whether we're here or not. I mean, it's not going anywhere.
I'm a flat earther. Okay. I'm a flat earther. So
we're mixed all in here. I believe we live in a turtle. So
but I have to back up and say something here. Okay. All this natural disaster that's going on, it is created by man.
Sure.
It's all created by man. And the aftermath of it and stuff like that, like it's really upsetting the earth. It's causing it'd be like like somebody slicing into your arm, okay? And you're gonna feel that residual pain after you heal, in your nerves and throughout your body. Some people feel that pain the time that the accident comes about, and stuff. So it enhances more. But the thing is that they want to induce fear because they feed off of it. Yeah. And that is what is also, it belongs in the paranormal too. And it all comes together. Like you said, it does all come together, but man is doing it.
And plus, a population that is fearful and panicked, they're easier to control.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, regardless if you're a flat earther or or not, I mean, it's going to be here whether we're here or not. Whether the Earth is flat or round, it's going to be here whether we're on it or not. And I personally think it's about a 50-50 mix between man-made and just naturally occurring. I think it's about a 50-50 mix.
I think the Earth can fight back. If that makes sense, you know what I'm saying? Like,
that's what we're witnessing right now.
I think we've got people that are sticking their hands and have been basically playing God for centuries now, and the between genetics and humans, genetics and animals, genetics and food, genetics and the weather, it's something that is openly done and has been done by people's great grandfathers and such. Eugenics has been one of those things where humans have always wanted to, in a sense, play God. And I think that it has repercussions, because if you've got the United States making constant weather, and you've got China making constant weather, and you've got India making constant weather, well, all of this constant weather that it's making is going to eventually get, cause some kind of crazy storm, and Earth's going to regulate itself back out.
There's going to be a pushback.
I mean, whether it be from floods or earthquakes or wind or who knows, I really think that at the end, when it's all said and done, that the people that are trying to play God won't be able to ever defeat Earth. I mean, look at nature. Look how quick nature takes back over. Like we talk about all the things that have been rediscovered recently down in the Amazon, because of how within 100 years it was so ate up by vegetation that it was gone, and everybody told the Spanish that they were crazy and there wasn't all those places in the Amazon. But now they're finding all of them, and it's just like, well, that's just it. Like, it's a tropical region, and in 100 years, nature's going to take back over. Like,
have you not noticed the drastic increase in just paranormal experiences and uptick in natural disasters from the last couple of years?
It's going to pop off more. That's what I'm seeing. There is no more
It has seriously exploded.
That was something.
That just goes. We're not just talking about paranormal. We're talking. All aspects of the paranormal world. Cryptids, ghosts, spirits, whatever your name for them. And the last few years has been a huge jump in sightings and experiences.
I'm a big believer that a lot of these beings, like all of those type things, that they are very interdimensional. And so I've actually been meaning to ask you, Miss Vicki, do you think that with the shift, everybody calls it a shift, people have different definitions for it or whatever, but the shift of this realm into a higher realm, do you think it has made the veil legitimately thin, and that's why we're seeing so many more sightings of like Bigfoot or spirits, or whether it be Martians, aliens, demons, whatever it is that you portray it as? Because I'm a believer that things like Bigfoot, for example, are interdimensional. So would the uptick in it, do you feel it is caused by the massive shift we're all experiencing?
I believe it's the playing around of the Cerns, because there's more than one. A lot of people don't know that there's more than one, and they let them all off at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, they admitted that they are contacting and speaking to other entities in other realms and things.
They've already admitted to opening portals to other dimensions.
Oh, yeah. They're opening more, and they're making them bigger and everything. And I also do believe that they captured either a human soul, because I posted a thing on my Instagram about how they admitted that they have the capability now of capturing human souls. So
I don't like that.
I have a feeling that they captured either a human or an entity from another realm and put it in the AI. See, and that's why
No.
the head guy of Google admitted that it's like living and stuff, and he got fired, I guess, from it. I just saw that, but I do believe that some of we're going to be seeing more of the cryptics. Some of them are here, and some of them are interdimensional.
They are, yeah.
And there are a lot of things that are coming up out of the grounds, and we will be seeing a lot more. And this is another thing I'd like to bring up too, is if you listen to what they talk about, the 15-second or 15-minute cities that they want to build.
15-minute cities.
15-minute cities. Thank you. They're talking about people being in these cities, and there will be large man-made, not man-made, but large flesh-eating creatures outside of the cities. So where are these flesh-eating creatures coming from?
Are we going to make the 15-minute cities like the Village, M. Night Shyamalan's Village movie, like where you go outside and there's flesh-eating beings outside that are going to devour you?
That's what it sounds like to me.
Why would they do this?
There's a lot of stuff that's playing off of movies. It's like I brought up the Poltergeist movie, the things you see in Poltergeist. The world is in for a big exorcism, because pretty soon things are going to really start popping off.
I do like the sound of that, though. I do like the sound of that, and don't take it as like a twisted reason, but I do have hope for humanity, but at the same time, we, a vast majority don't deserve this beautiful planet. You know what I mean? However, whatever shape or form you believe this planet exists in, we don't deserve something this nice anymore.
I agree
people
with you,
are
but
cruel.
I also believe that we are so caught up in what those that are here have. It's their history. It's not our history, because a lot of the history that they're telling us and that they provided with us through school and now is a lie, and it's the truth is coming out. Okay.
So are you thinking that this is a prison planet for us?
I do. I do. And I also believe that we are here to make it, the saying, what's above, so below. I believe that we are here to try to make it into the divine and heavenly. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We are here to make the changes. We are here to learn the lessons and grow from it in a positive way, and to eliminate.
So we're in purgatory. We're in this planet. The Earth is purgatory, right?
I believe that this is a first level,
or the tribulation.
I believe this is the first level of purgatory, but there is a deeper, more sinister hell than what is here on Earth that we're experiencing.
So we're in the tribulation, according to Revelation, right? We're in the tribulation right now, right? Here, because there's also that theory. There's that theory that the Earth really did end in 2012, and we're in the trials and tribulations, according to whatever religion anybody listening is, according to the Revelation, when when he returns, you will go through a trial and tribulation if you haven't already been taken away, you will be, you'll have to endure the tribulation. So, and they say that those of us right now that are still left on Earth right now after 2012 are enduring tribulation.
So,
this is why I like having you on, Miss Vicki. This is the good stuff.
Another thing too is I'd like to say too is all these people that are following. I call it the material realm, the third dimension. Okay, that they're the ones that are stuck on this and they can't see past. But we're trying to tell them about the fluoride in the food and stuff like that, even though it's in front of their faces and everything like that. A lot of people aren't here. There's a lot of souls that aren't here to wake up. They're called first timers. Okay.
NPCs, non-playable characters.
Pardon me? I didn't hear you.
NPCs. They're
Yeah.
NPCs,
Yeah.
non-playable characters. They're like,
Right. And then there's
I'm a video
synthetic
gamer.
too.
Yeah. So it's
The
okay.
synthetics
I'm sorry.
are
Go ahead.
programmed. The synthetics are programmed. They're the ones that are programmed. They look like humans and everything like that. You can pinch them. They feel like kind of humanish, but plasticky. And they're here. They're all dialed in and everything to whatever the AI, the computers, or whatever they're using. Because AI is not new, you guys. None of this stuff that they're bringing out is new. They try to make it sound new, but it is not new. None of our technology doesn't even meet anything that has to do with the Tartarian days.
So a funny example I like to point out in this specific situation is everybody is so enamored by the air fryer and how it's just, this great new thing, yada yada yada. And as somebody who has worked in appliances for a long time, I'm like, oh, you just mean a convection oven? And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, a convection oven. It came out years and years ago.
Yeah.
And it's literally the same exact technology. They just repackaged it,
same thing,
and sold it to you as something new. Like it's
they repackaged it with toxins in it.
Oh, absolutely.
And a lot of people that are using them are coming down sick.
Oh yeah,
and there's only 2 air fryers.
Teflon and plastic.
There's only 2 air fryers that you can use, and one is a plastic one, but it doesn't have the toxic in it, and the other one is the old glass ones
with the porcelain, like because the glass that they use for those is more of a porcelain based glass because it's got to be it's got to be heat resistant. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And I try to explain that to people because people have heard me before when I'm in there working on it. They're like, "Why does that sound like glass cracking?" And I'm like, because it is. It's porcelain. Like it's a giant layer of porcelain, and the slightest amount of weight will make it send ripples. But that's not gonna affect it as much as you think it does. It's. But I mean, it's just that's the example of I'm a big believer in there's nothing new under the sun. Like I will see things that I'm like, well, that was a thing before. You know what I mean? It's just you're right. They repackage and they sell you. That's that consumerist, capitalist nature that they have pretty much put us into, where it's new, buy. I see it with appliances.
Exactly.
I see it with appliances as a great example. Like, and this I have put my hands very recently on a Frigidaire so old it still had a General Motors stamp on it, and it worked. Mm-hmm. And I'm talking the 50s, 60s era that they still had these stamps on them. And a refrigerator that you go get today, if you get 10 years out of it, good for you. Like I'm surprised. And not to mention, I've brought this up before and I'm going to keep bringing this up because I think it's something that needs to be brought to people's attention. The things that they are filling refrigerators with now are basically a butane propane type thing. And you are now putting a giant bomb in your kitchen every time you purchase a refrigerator made since 2019 because it is made with cyclopentane and R600A, and both of them are extremely flammable and highly combustible. So good job, regulators, with all your,
Well, there's a gentleman that's on TikTok. I can't remember his name. Please forgive me, but he goes around and collects all these old freezers and refrigerators, and every one he's collected, he's cleaned up, and they all work, and he resells them.
They were made to last.
And they were made to last. That's back when we took pride in what we did and everything. And the thing is another thing that I'd like to point out too is, like microwaves cook food and kill all the nutrients of the food from the inside out compared to your normal oven. Okay. Correct. They cook from the outside in. Everything that we do that takes nourishment from our body. Okay. We not only become sicker, but it also lowers our vibration to let negative entities in and around us and around and in the world.
You know,
so these air fryers, these microwaves, these things, like anything that you see, they're mass pushing on people.
Oh, yeah.
And that's another thing a lot of these synthetics people do. They push this stuff,
100%.
And a lot of people don't understand that.
That's how they get away with, telling somebody after studying 8 people that this is science and this is a final decision and you need to believe it. Like recently me and the guys were discussing, and this was like in the group chat, but we were discussing I'm against it anyway because it's a synthetic sweetener, but because I'm kind of against a lot of the food-like products, that exist in today's time, and synthetic sweeteners are one of them. And they were talking about this after studying these 8 subjects, this synthetic sweetener, caused very ill effects or whatever. And I'm just like, okay, true, I don't doubt that, but like they're using it as the only way they're backing their science. Like, and this is my argument against it. Not that I don't back what they're saying about it being a toxic thing to be putting in your body, but like they only study for the results that they're paid to look for. Like if you come up with a different set of results, you're that one scientist that didn't agree. Like the what is it, 9 out of 10 dentists agree that Crest is the best thing for your teeth, and it's that one dentist is a guy going, "Don't use the fluoride, bro. Don't do it. And they're like, "Shut up."
Yeah.
Bro. Like, and that's how a lot of these studies work. And I this is a kind of I guess an ongoing thing, but like, I have seen a lot of people give up religion for science, and science has become their religion. They're begging people that they don't know, that want to make money off of them, to give them answers to what's wrong with them, whether it be something that needs to be pharmaceutical, whether it be something that they need to eat, whether it be something that they need to kill the dandelions in their yard. I think this goes back to a point where there were many NPCs before our time, even, that kind of allowed a lot of this to go in. I'm talking to a few other spiritual type people. A common thing that I have heard is that a lot of us that are here now chose to come back now because of the shift of what's going on, and that us, a lot of us were always told we were old souls and stuff like that growing up, and we're not a part of that NPC group. We're a part of the group that can see past the veil already and stuff. And like I tend to actually believe it. I make jokes of it quite frequently, but maybe people just don't realize how serious I am when I'm talking about it, that I'm not from this dimension. Like I came here later than this life came. Like there's things that I can tell you from when I was in it before, but like I'm not from here, and I'm 100% sure of that. And I've found that a lot of the people that I talk to, like you, Bandit, and other people that I talk to on a regular basis in my life, we have all got some kind of connection prior. Like, I've known Bandit all of going on maybe 5 years now, but damn it, I don't think I can remember a time when he wasn't my friend. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Like I
think it's 5 years.
It's going on 5 years now that we've been friends, but I'm saying like and when I sit here and talk to you, and I sit here and look back at it, and I sit here and think about it, and the same goes for you, Miss Vicki, to be real with you. You guys are so familiar that
I think,
you know what I mean?
It's
like
not just you as a whole. I think a piece of you might have been from someplace else.
Yes. You know what I mean?
And when you came into this world as your current self, you brought a piece of that with you.
And I have been messing with things since I got here.
Yeah. Some people have a connection that is just what is not considered normal. It can be so minute as just like being awake to like what is going on, and it can be as like major as having an actual mental connection to things outside the norm.
Miss Vicki, I know you can probably relate to this. When a lot of people hear the idea of if you're looking for answers, look within, people are like, huh. But like I'm a firm believer that past incarnations of whoever I am from wherever I came from have access to the ever-growing knowledge that is within. And some people call it the Akashic Records. I don't know what to call it. I don't really agree with the idea of the Akashic Records. There's some of it I do, but some of it I'm a little about. But like I can visualize and do things that I've never done in this life, and like I just know. I'm like, I know everybody's super impressed over there on Instagram. Even you, Miss Vicki, I've seen you over there with my bread, and like, I don't know how the fuck I'm doing it. I'm gonna be real with you. I have no idea. I'm just doing it, and it's just one of those things that it's just like I swear I've accessed knowledge from like the center of the universe that I think all of us. I truly believe all of us.
Maybe in another timeline,
but bread's not.
Maybe in another dimensional timeline, maybe you were a baker. Maybe in another dimensional timeline,
mechanic.
You were something else.
Service
I know
guy.
there's some.
I know
there's some
all
weird
of us are delivery men. Every last one of us have ever been a delivery man. Every man on the face of this planet has delivered.
I have. I was a delivery person for Coca-Cola in this timeline.
Well, I'm going to tell you guys something, okay? I literally remember, okay, you talk about people choose to come down here. Not everybody chooses to come down here. Some are picked from God himself, okay? Yeah. And you were talking to a person here that was. I remember waking up in heaven, and I remember being called upon. I remember all the souls floating up. I remember one soul saying, "Hi, Vicki." They already knew my name before I was even born. I remember being shown my life. I was shown my dad. I was seeing angels walking behind people. And I was told what I was supposed to do. I don't remember everything that was said because I'm not supposed to remember it right now. But the thing is that you can remember your past lives. I remember 3 or 4 of my past lives. One of my past lives, I was an African American slave healer on a plantation. And in this lifetime, I literally met those people. And the girl I saved. I mean, you don't mind if I go into a little bit of the story, do you?
Please do. Please do.
I was a heavyset African American woman, and I was having this dream ever since I was a little girl. And it was like, it was like this, like, I mean, it was so real, and it would not stop. Every night that I went to sleep, it would not stop. And what happened is I saved this little girl who was being raped by a Confederate soldier behind a woodpile. And I scooped her up and I shot the guy. And I was patting her and she was screaming. I told her, "It's going to be okay, honey. It's going to be okay, honey." And I climbed up the steps to the place where I lived and everything. It was White House, the rickety paint falling off and everything. And I sat down in the rocker and I was rocking her. And I remember something black, big and black, was sitting off to my left side, but I couldn't remember that. And that drove me crazy. The whole time it drove me crazy. Well, as time went by and I'm in middle school, and I had a friend and she introduced me to this one girl, and her and I hit it off, and she invited me over to her house, and I met her mom, and her mom was psychic. Okay. And she was, after this was like a few years later on, after knowing, I'd always go over there and visit her and everything. And she goes, "Vicki," she goes, "I was supposed to have 3 children." She goes, "I know." She goes, "I know you're my 3rd child." And she was supposed to have another breast surgery. It was the 9th one, and they happened to misfile the surgery for her 9th one and everything. And she was very depressed and stuff. And we were sitting on the steps, and I could just feel the spirit swirling around, and I could see him. It was like a fog, just spinning around, spinning around, spinning around. And we got to talking, and she goes, Vicki, she goes, I remember all my past lives. I remember her husband now, what he was in a past life with her and everything. And she goes, I remember being a little girl, and my parents owned the plantation, and a Confederate soldier tried raping me behind a woodpile. And this heavy-set African-American slave healer that lived on the plantation came up and shot him and scooped me up and told me that I'll be okay. And she patted my bottom and she rocked me and took me up on the steps to the house that she lived in and sat in a rocking chair next to a wood stove. That is what I could not figure out what was sitting off to the left side of me in my past life.
The big black thing that was over there beside you. Yeah.
So I saved her life in a past life. And in this lifetime, she helped me out. And she was like a mother figure to me.
Nice.
Okay. In this lifetime. Yeah. And so she paid back her karma from me helping her in the last life. Just like I know my son's father's parents are the plantation owners. And the guy I dated, the guy that I shot, I ended up dating him later on. And how I know this is because we both had the same nightmare at the same time, and he was panicking and he couldn't breathe. And I said, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And he said, "I had this dream that I was a Confederate soldier and I was shot in a cotton field. And the last thing I remember is falling on my back and seeing the sky, and then it went black." And we had the same dream at the same time. And that's when I knew that he was the one. And so he in this lifetime paid back my karma, the karma, and stuff like that in this lifetime, because that relationship did not work. My son has been with me through every lifetime. He's always been a relative, a son, an uncle, a cousin, a brother,
Yeah.
And so the thing is I've been a school teacher in the 1700s on a prairie. I have been a Indian man that wrote and transcribed religious things and stuff. Let's see what else. I was also a American woman that was married to an Indian chief in a past life.
Interesting.
So
I've done some past life type, regression type thing, and some interesting visuals into some stuff. Because when I was a lot younger, somebody was like, "Hey, do you want to go visit your past life's grave?" And I'm like, "What?" And they're like, "Yeah, it's still here soon enough that you can totally go visit it." And I was hesitant at first, but when I made my way to New Mexico, I happened to find it and was pretty blown away, especially when you start, doing research into things, and I'm sure you can relate to this. You start getting floods of memories, like actual memories that you had from some of these past incarnations. And this is kind of why I said earlier, like, there's this sense that there's a lot of you that I know, and it's because in some other form of way, you were there, I was there in something. And I think that there's a lot of intertwining like that, good and bad. Like, I think there are people that you run across, like you just made the mention of the, basically the soldier, and then the life in this life and the lessons you learned in that area. And I think you do that in a lot of instances. That's why there's certain people that bring a certain familiarity, or, even spark something, like there's been some look into some things, and me and my wife are pretty certain that there was us together in past incarnations, incarnations, and even gender swapped, you know what I mean? And it's some really interesting stuff when you start getting into it. And that's where I started getting into the belief that I could, access some of these skills. And I've had a few people dig around and try to see what else they could see into me, and I eventually, and maybe you'll be the one to see past it, but eventually, they get to me and they're like, what's protecting you? And I'm like, what do you mean? And I'm like, they're like, well, I've tried to investigate into you a little bit, and I get to a certain point and you have a ridiculous amount of protection around you. And I'm like, well, I'm married to a woods witch, so I mean, that there's part of it there. But yeah, this is nuts, but I had this lady that I would consider my
Nothing's nuts. Nothing's nuts.
I would consider her my second shaman, because I've had a few people in life that I've looked at in the shaman, I guess, type role. And she told me that my soul is descended of small g, like man gods that walk the earth, people that did great things, like the legends of Odin came from somewhere, you know what I'm saying? The legend, that he was a person, not an actual omnipotent being or whatever. And the same can be said for like Thor and other Celtic gods and stuff like that, and even into other cultures and stuff, that there were the people that were and again, I consider them gods with a small g, because it's more of a label, not an actual thing. And to me, in this instance,
in a past life, you were a wizard. You were a wizard in a past life.
I've been told some interesting.
I can see that. I can see that.
Wizard in a past life.
100%. I can see that. It
You
all makes sense now.
You helped heal people and protect people, and you were actually murdered. You were murdered. Do you get pains in your neck or in your back?
Right in here. It's in my shoulder.
You were stabbed.
I can see that.
You were stabbed and you bled to death.
There was also a drowning story.
All makes sense now, Jimmy.
In one of those
all makes sense now.
That I've been told before too. And there's some interesting things to this, and I believe
this is another thing I got to bring up too, is a lot of people that are gifted, okay, their gifts are going to be coming out more. They're going to this is the thing, is here on earth, you're here to have people to help and guide you, and some of those people abuse it, and they're cons and they're fakes, okay?
Sure.
And then there are the legit ones that are actually here to help you, okay? To take you to your next level, or sometimes hold your hand for a season or a lifetime too, okay? But they're not here to control you. They're here to guide you. And the thing is that we will be opening up to more of our gifts. Sure. There are people that can control fire. I've thrown fire my palm, and my son still remembers it to this day, and I still remember it. I looked at my hand thinking that my hand was on fire, and it wasn't. And my son was just like, for 2 hours, he couldn't believe it. He was like, did I just see that? Did that really happen? So, and here's the phone. It was a brand new phone. It was one of those that you lay down on something, you could pick it up, you got the dial tone. And I was reaching over. I had it in this hand, my right hand, and I was reaching over to get ready to plug it into the wall. And I was like this far away from the wall. And I had just gotten out. The energy from this relationship was just so intense. And you could feel it. It was like smoke in the air. The energy was so negative and stuff. And I was just, fire came out of my hand. It was like, and it melted it. And I was just like, I dropped it. And you could see my hand print on there. But I had to deal with my son, who was in shock for 2 hours,
So that's kind of an interesting thing. I've always been intrigued by, I guess, if you want to get into the nerd comic type realm, like the Last Airbender.
Superpowers.
Well, the Last Airbender, Avatar, type thing, where people can control different elements. And, I've seen some things with my own eyes that are unexplainable, and that, I will 100% attest to and believing not so much the fire. I've heard the stories of the fire. I've seen videos of the fire, but I've seen the earth and water be moved, and those, that alone lets me know that, things like that are real. I've felt, like the energy or whatever from somebody.
Water is living.
Oh yes,
everything is living.
I felt like with my wife, she's into healers. She is the owner and founder of Peachy Key Creations, one of the sponsors of the show. And, I have felt the physical energy change, when she has your hand on you and stuff like that. And, the power that is behind all of that. And I know this is kind of a little silly and maybe a little off, but like you were talking about the phone, and, everybody jokes that not long after The Matrix was shown to us in the movie form, that we started losing not only payphones, but nobody seems to bring up that we started losing house phones as well. It's not a very common thing anymore for people to have a phone in their house. It's to be real, it's few and far between. I'm in a lot of houses a day, to be real with you, and I do see it. They're all generally older folks, but like it seems to not be a thing anymore, and it makes me wonder.
That is way too much of a coincidence.
Was there some truth? Was there some truth to that? Like, do you?
That's way too much of a coincidence.
I noticed that you can pick up more. Did you? Okay, because I've had so many experiences with this, but did you know? Okay, let's back up here. Did you notice when cell phones very first came out, they were really expensive and very rare to get? They were the old brick ones in the 80s.
Yeah.
Oh, the bag phones, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And then all of a sudden they came out with I think it was the Nokia, and they were like pretty cheap and stuff like that.
Candy bar.
And then all of a sudden house phones got to be really expensive, and they went back to where if you lived 2 blocks over, it would be considered long distance and stuff. And I noticed that I think the reason why that they got they jacked the prices up of house phones and stuff and made it cheaper for cell phones is because you could pick up a lot of paranormal communication through house phones.
Yes.
I remember talking.
Oh, no. Especially the cordless house phones
and old box TVs.
That were not. Yeah. You had to have a cordless house phone, and it could not be connected to an actual phone line. It had to be disconnected from a phone line. I know exactly what you're talking about because I had an experience with a house phone when it wasn't connected to a line or anything. And I was living in I was still living in Northern Illinois when I was a kid. And I was picking up all sorts of stuff, man. I was walking around in the backyard with it turned on, and you could pick up all sorts of stuff that you probably shouldn't have been listening to, and some stuff that probably didn't exist.
And it wasn't no party line either.
No,
it wasn't no party line because they did away with those, quite fast.
Well, you got the old phones were good at these signal pickups, and then the
baby monitors.
The classic baby monitors, classic radios, classic AM FM radios, and
had to be the multi-band.
Yep. And then the big, huge. You got to click them. TV,
console TVs,
freaking console TV that had that static screen that no matter what, you always had a channel.
This type of TV Jimmy has as his background, as his picture border. That is the type of TV we're talking about.
And
exactly.
All of these old items were some of the best paranormal and Polaroid cameras. These were some of like the best paranormal visual things. There was a time where I was one of those guys who ran out and did the paranormal investigating type thing. We would go check out haunted places and stuff like that. And it is amazing to see how this classic equipment, just stuff we all grew up with in our houses, to be honest, is the best stuff for picking all of this up. And
You know,
the,
have you not
the
noticed?
fancy
Let's
stuff
take
they try
a
to
comparison. Have you not noticed the comparison between what is now digital photography compared to like your 35 millimeter film and Polaroids? The amount of like paranormal activity and pictures just that have been lost.
Well, not just
with
that.
the new digital photography, because they will filter that stuff out.
I've made mention of
old school Polaroids and 35 millimeter film did not filter that out. You captured what was there.
So
hold on. I got one thing. There is a picture that is probably one of the most convincing photos of capturing something not of this world. It happened in a hospital, and it was captured by, I don't remember. I think it was an old school security camera, and it captured a being standing over a person that had just died. And it is still one of those few photos that has not been, anytime anything like that comes out, they'll automatically, like, people will jump on that and go, oh, I've debunked that. I've disproven that. I've shown how that can be manipulated. And this is one of those photos that just has not been disproven, even though I hate saying it like that, because truly when something like that is captured, it's captured, and people will try to disprove it just to like get it swept away. But hold on, let me see if I can find this picture, and I'll send it to where
I'm trying.
Jimmy will be able to bring it up.
Yeah.
I know exactly. I know what it.
If I had a choice to go back to the old Polaroid, I would. The old TVs, I would.
In a heartbeat.
Everything is, they want everything connected up to AI. They want to be able to control you. They already are. When I've gotten on TikTok, I've had pictures on my phone and posts on my phone that were deleted off my phone before I went from Instagram over to TikTok. And I talked to, I think it was maybe you or somebody else, another gentleman that's on TikTok, that's also on YouTube too. He brought it up in one of his posts on TikTok. And I said, you know what? This has been going on for like a year on my phone. And he goes, yeah, it just started on mine. He goes, pictures that are pictures and posts that have nothing to do with putting on here, they just disappear. So, and the thing is in the small print, you give them that right when you sign on to an app. That's why people really need to, pay attention. Just like I've noticed there's some posts that I've had from TikTok, and I try to transfer it over to Instagram, and it won't let me. It blacks it out like it doesn't even exist. Oh, hold on. I got to switch my glasses out to my real glasses, guys.
So Casey or Benny, you want to take over on this?
Oh, I remember that. I remember.
You
that
remember
right
this?
I remember that. That is actually a demon standing over the person's body. I remember that.
Oh.
I remember that. I wish I could zoom in on my phone further to see it.
It's just one of those.
Yeah, I remember that one. That was actually a demon that was standing over the person's body. Yeah.
They had just died.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
And hey, let's talk about something more recently that's been captured. Let's talk about the most recent video that is circulating TikTok of a giant on the ridgeline / mountain that was captured on video. And the man is dead. That took that video. He's dead. Yeah. So they killed him.
So there was,
in fact, the last video that he did, you could tell by his body language that somebody was off to the side. You could watch his eyes, watch his head, watch his hand gestures and stuff like that. In the last video he posted, he was being watched, and then all of a sudden they killed him.
I do have a good link that has a lot of these videos attached to it, and there was 2 last videos. So his last video was the one that you're speaking of, where he's like paranoid, and he looks like he's like reading from a script. and there's somebody there in the room with him. Very, very Isaac Cappy like, if you ask me, towards his
Yeah.
last video.
Very
Off to
what?
the
What'd
left
you
side.
say?
He's looking off to the left side.
I mean, everybody's seen that video of Isaac Cappy, that one that he made before he got, vanished. But
Oh, we know who killed
absolutely.
Cappy. It was
Oh.
TH. TH killed him.
Facts.
He bragged about it. He bragged about through using symbolism in one of his posts about it, and where the accident happened too.
Yeah.
Put that in one of his posts, that it happened on a highway and stuff with symbolism, and everything. So yeah, I mean, the thing is they're not hiding it, but they're hoping that people don't figure it out. But the ones that are figuring it out and putting two to two together, they're going to come after you.
But this guy with the giant, that posted this giant video or whatever, he made one more video before he did ultimately end up, unalived, which was him saying, "Guys, I'm not lying now. I'm serious. My videos were serious. I wasn't lying to begin with. Something's wrong." And that was actually the last video he had posted. And, in his little saga, he had found a bunker up there on that mountainside that, they said has been there since the 60s. But either way, we know the government, just because we know something's there doesn't mean that they're still not doing something on the inside. And, it's, we back to kind of like the picture thing and how we were talking about that a little bit, and like the Bigfoot's being seen and giants being seen and stuff like that. I believe that on these newer cameras, these newer digital cameras, the reason that, everybody's like, why is it always still so blurry? And I think that they vibrate at a different frequency than us, and are only visible.
Oh yeah, they all do.
They all do. They're only visible when they
live on a different
to
frequency.
Be visible. And you're never going to get that clear picture of them because they choose not to. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like
it's their choice and how much energy they put into this realm for you to be seen. Like I showed this lady, I have pictures of fairies. I have over 100 fairies living with me and protecting me. And people don't believe me. And I posted pictures. I've posted pictures of it snowing orbs in my house, and a fairy burst where they come together like that and they burst, and all these fairies and their colors and everything. And this one lady, she goes, "Why are they so blurry?" And I said, because they have a choice on how much they show you. They're still in their realm and coming into our realm, and there's a choice. They have a choice. Like I have a fairy. It's Lily and Miles, one of their twin boys, and his name's Philip. And I used to come in here and I had a chair off to the other side, and I'd sit in the chair and I'd have coffee and I'd talk to him. Well, I noticed the chime. I can't show you, but I have chimes, okay? And they're like leaves coming up like this. And then there's chimes hanging down. Well, they were moving. And so I took a picture. And I looked at the picture, and there's baby Philip sitting on one of the leaves smiling at me. And I posted that one, and the lady goes, "Well, why is it so like, what is it? Transparent? It's not, I mean, he came in quite a bit so you could see what it is." And then, and I'm like, because they have a choice to show you, how much they want you to see. It's their energy in this. I have another picture of what is it, Petra and Megal's daughter, baby fairy Sammy. She's looking out her bedroom window in the fairy house that I made, and I shared that on there too. And you can see it plain as day.
But sometimes they don't have that choice. We had this discussion with a guy we had on from over in the UK, Thomas, who is largely into the cryptid and paranormal world. He is top notch, and we should link you two up without a doubt.
I love meeting.
But he stated and made a very good point that sometimes there are places here on this planet that have experienced such a traumatic event that it has torn the very fabric of, the dimensions, time, whatever. And
It ripped
sometimes, it ripped it because the event was so traumatizing that people can view each other through through the plane. You know, they can see each other, and that's probably like you always see it like and they'll put it pretty good in the movies. Like sometimes you'll see what they say are ghosts. The ghosts and the people see each other for the first time, and they're both kind of spooked. You know, a good one I like to use is that there is a Civil War battlefield that is near where I live, and it is one of the bloodiest, most horrendous battles that took place in the Civil War in this area, and it is so haunted. People will see and hear stuff all of the time, like vivid shapes. And that is one of those things that's like, it's such a traumatizing event in history and time that it tears the very fabric, and they have no choice. There's no choice in that matter.
Yeah, it's traumatizing, but also it's a very strong residual energy of pain and suffering and torture and things that also they still believe that they're in that lifetime. They don't understand us. They don't know. They're kind of
stuck there.
I think we talked about this once
they're
before.
stuck.
Yeah, they don't know.
We did. It was the last time you were here.
Yeah, and they need help crossing over, but it's their choice. You cannot force a spirit to cross over if they don't want to.
True.
And then if it's a demon, you got to battle it. There's a battle because we talked about that before. They ultimately want to hurt you, and they want to take over your body. They want, and just it's just crazy. So I got a spirit walking around my office, so I'm kind of like looking back and forth. They're just pacing back and forth here.
What is a common myth about this kind of stuff or whatever, like a common myth you see pass around that you would like to see stop being passed around? You know what I'm saying? Like on the subject as a whole, you know what I mean? Like there's things out there that are real, there's things out there that are fake, and then occasionally things get mixed in there. If I'm making any sense. I know I'm.
No, I understand what you're saying. I'd have to hear one first to let you know, because I don't linger on those things.
I got you.
When I come across them, I confront them.
Sure.
And things. I mean, not in a mean way, in a diplomatic way.
Of
and
course.
I put out my knowledge information when it comes to that. I know for a fact giants are real. Fairies are real, and people turn around and make it harder than what it should be to communicate. Like I was talking with this one woman, and she said she took a class where how to communicate and connect with fairies. And I'm like, you don't need to take a class on how to communicate and connect with fairies. You have to believe and be genuine from your heart and your soul.
Sure.
They can tell when somebody is genuine or not. Sure. And then they will gradually be shown,
I will say in my experience, fairies can also be mighty tricky. Like you do have to watch
they're just, you want to know what, they're just like humans. They just look different. They don't look like what Disney presents them to be. Okay. They look different. Some have tails. Some of them have elongated necks and bigger features, noses, and things like that. And there's different kinds, like Shinog. Shinog came from a land that we don't even really know about. It hasn't really been talked about. And it goes back to, the maps where the flat earth maps where it shows land out there and everything. Mm-hmm. But all of a sudden, China and Japan have discovered 7,000 more islands. Sweetie, those were already there. They were covering them up. Okay. Well, Shinog is a shaman fairy that came from one of these lands that I can't even pronunciate the name of it. Okay. So, and the fairies are all over the world. And one thing is people are making things so hard. And the more a person is caught up in the material realm, it's less chances that you're going to be seeing these. You're going to be seeing more of the lower level entities and demons and poltergeists and things like that. Does that make sense?
Oh no, absolutely. And
Because
so
you're not vibrating at a higher level.
correct. All right. So I have this is one of those things that is the reason I earned this here hat, because of just where my brain goes. So I believe that the Dark Ages was a time that they were doing a good job in crusading the magic away. Like we all lived more of a magical life, like the stories you see in King Arthur and wizards and fairy tales and stuff like that. I believe that was the reality at one point. I believe that at one point in time, humans and fairies and elves and giants and everything like that,
And gnomes. Yep.
and gnomes, even like
Dragons.
dragons and all,
Yep.
like very Lord of the
Dragons.
Rings, very Lord of the Rings story type. Definitely, people existed, and we all coexisted and lived in this realm. And somewhere along the lines, and this is me being me again, we were cut off from the remainder of the planet. Like this is not trying to beat a dead horse, and I know that I always talk about the turtle theory, but the only thing that I've ever took to heart in some of these, I guess not really flat, sort of flat Earth, kind of simulation theory, kind of, we are trapped in a small portion of a very larger thing than we realize. And we were trapped and cut off from all of these things for the purpose of whatever twisted man control that wanted to do it. But like, I believe all of these things exist outside, not only of the area we're trapped to, but in the vibrational type dimensions, like you were talking about. Like, I've heard Bigfoot, I've seen fairies, I've seen spirits, I can tell you the difference between a demon and a spirit. And even though I'm not really much of a religious guy, there's definitely you can call it a demon or whatever you want. There's definitely a form of an evil entity, because I truly believe that light can't exist without dark, and dark can't exist without light. Like,
Right.
there has to be a balance. And currently, sure, things look kind of bleak, and the dark side seems to have the higher stakes of the balance. But this goes back to some of the earth things we were talking about, and just our reality in a whole. The light can't be completely put out, and the light can always be brought back to be the stronger, against the dark and stuff like that. And sure, we're in a dark time now, but I think the old souls that are here, the people like you and I, and the other people that I meet in this journey that are totally on the same exact path, trying to do the same thing, just in their own sense, are trying to make sure that we don't have a continued repeated cycle. Yeah. A lot of girls talk about breaking generational curses, and I think that a lot of us are breaking like a centuries plus long, centennial type curses, because we've been prisoned up in this part of the planet and cut off from the rest of all this, cut off
way
from
more. Oh, this is this has happened a few times.
Yes.
Like peak and then collapse,
but they can't.
and then ups and this has happened multiple times.
This is the light and dark thing that I'm saying, though, is like evil can ever completely snuff the light out, and I don't think that the light can actually ever make every shadow go away, but it sure can shine bright enough to make the shadows less.
So what you're saying is like, you keep, Miss Vicki, you bring up that more things will, come into view. More what people will view as superpowers, supernatural occurrences, and stuff like that. So, and how everybody always brings up that there's a civil war coming, there's a revolution coming, and
yes, there will be.
I think that like what you're saying is it's probably going to come into play with, like, a what everybody thinks of as a battle of good and evil.
Sure.
It will be spiritual warfare, and it will be very intense, but also there's going to be physical warfare too. Okay. I'm going to go. Who do you think put up that wall of the ice and everything like that? It was the reptilians that did it. Okay.
Because they're trying to get us to mine their gold.
Yeah. People are saying, well, reptilians are nice and da 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 da. There's lizard people, and then there's reptilians, the draconians. Okay. There's many different kinds of aliens on this planet. Mm-hmm. Some we don't even know about yet. Okay. And we will start seeing them and, finding that out. There's so much that's going to be exposed. People don't understand that. People are going to start getting their powers, including myself, more so. There are people that are sent here to be warriors, to battle the evil. There are people sent here to spread light and love and healing. There are people here to do a multitude of things, not just be a warrior, but a light worker, a healer, and things. I've had people say, well, you're not a shaman, you're white. And I'm like, it doesn't matter, because there's shamans in different cultures.
Yes.
But also there are people that are shamans that have been shamans passed down through their lifetimes.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Oh, no, absolutely.
And the highest shaman that I know of is one that can turn around and literally pull a demon out of a person's body without capsulating it, I guess, or is the word, inside of themselves. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do.
I haven't ever met a shaman yet that can do that. That is the highest shaman out there. Okay. And there's a difference between shaman practitioners and shamans. Okay. There's shamans in every culture. There's shamans from past lives and stuff that's in their charts, and their gifts are going to be getting stronger and stronger too. But the thing is here's the battle, is finding the people that are shamans, meeting up with another real shaman to help take them to the next level of where they're meant to be. So you see what I'm saying?
So of this lifetime type story time, and I was my first, I've made mention of her before, but my first shaman was Guineas, or I don't say it right, but she grew up down off the coast of South America in like the island area out there. Mm-hmm. Always had good stories of mermaids and stuff for me. And I was at, I guess you would call it a ritual, but it was a cleansing type thing for me or whatever. But in the process of me being there, they had an emergency situation and needed to pull a demon from somebody. And I sat there and watched her and her sister pull a demon from this old lady and trap it in the cat beside them.
Without taking and putting it in them. Yeah.
And it was one of those things that are just I can't explain it, but I seen it. I know I sound nuts talking about it, but it's not to you guys, sure. But like, a lot of people out there are going to be like, what? And I'm just like, it's one of those things that I seen. And, that when you see something like this, especially when you don't have any explanation at the time, or you don't understand it or anything like that, your mm-hmm. mind's blown, you know what I mean? Just completely out there. And then when you have a good understanding of it, you're just like, this is amazing what this person, has done. And like, there's something to be said about all of that. And back to where you were talking mm-hmm. about, white person can't be a shaman. That's because they were called wizards and witches because people wanted to turn them into something bad when they weren't.
Well, yeah. I mean, they all based a certain,
like witch doctors. People give voodoo a bad rap, but I mean, voodoo's actually got a lot of positive.
Voodoo is not all bad.
Right.
Voodoo is not all bad.
No, it just has some dark art in it.
People need to understand the history of where it came from.
That's right.
Okay. That's
right.
all they need to do. And then it would open their eyes more. It's the people that do it, if they're bad and with bad
Correct.
intentions, or if they're good and with good intentions.
Now,
You got to understand something. Intentions are very powerful.
intentions are very,
Very,
powerful.
very powerful. People don't understand that. And this is another thing I'd like to bring up too.
Yes, ma'am.
Is, there's a patent out where they can control. They have it where they can control your nervous system and the way you think through programming too. Okay. I think I posted it on my Instagram on my daily.
It's something I'm very familiar with, actually. It is the nervous system manipulation patent, which is US patent 6506148B2. I actually have this as like a save thing that I bring up all the time. It is 100% a patent that the abstract of it says psychological effects have been observed in human subject in response to stimulation of the skin with weak electronic magnetic fields that are pulsed through certain frequencies near a half a hertz to 2.4 hertz, such as to excite sensory resonance. Many computer monitors and TV tubes, when displayed pulse images, emit pulse electronic magnetic fields of sufficient amplitudes to cause such an excitation. So basically, for layman's terms, your TV, when it's showing you that commercial, I try to explain this to people before, advertising is 85% psychology.
Mm-hmm.
And they take a mixture of this that they learned through things like MK Ultra and stuff like that, doing these experiments, and they implicate it on the masses. A common thing that I deal with on a regular basis is everybody wants to talk to me about a TV show, and nobody, like, it takes a lot for me to watch a TV show. I know that the light being inside of my brain is very susceptible to that stuff because I've been through it before. Mm-hmm. And I'm very sensitive to it. So I choose wisely in the things that I watch, because I have to be careful. And it's hard to explain to people. I know you'll understand this, Vicki, but like, I don't know. Once you break past a lot of this stuff, it's so hard to even look back at any of it without your brain tearing it into a million parts and seeing all the different pieces and stuff. And you made mention again a few minutes ago of something that I really like to try to explain to people too, is about the intention, the intention of using this stuff. A cult doesn't mean bad. A cult means hidden. And a lot of these people that use these occult things they use a lot of the same things that, yourself, my wife, other healers that I've seen, shamans that I've met, they use a lot of the same methods as well. And people are like, well, that's witchcraft. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's the same thing that they're doing, but the intent is in a positive manner. You're using it for positive, vibration and stuff, where these other folks practice that law of inversion that I like to bring up from my favorite group of people, the Frankists. And, they do things with an intent of personal gain and not caring about, the rest of everyone else. But again, eventually karma has to catch up to this, the light, the dark, dark. Again, I just can't reiterate enough. Dark doesn't stay dark forever. That sun's always going to come up. Like as long as you're alive, as long as I'm alive, as long as my kids are alive, I'm pretty positive that sun is going to be coming up.
Yeah, and you want to know, there are some things you can repair your karma. Okay, there's some things you can repair your karma on, and then there's some things you can't. You need to go through, and it doesn't mean you're going to get the karma the way you dished it out. Sure. It could be something totally devastating. Sure. Okay, and it could be something. I mean, it just depends. But there are certain things that you could turn around and repair your karma.
And sometimes you have to be the hand of karma too. Like I
don't like to talk about this very much, but I have been I have seen karma in action, like with a vengeance, like with a righteous vengeance. I will spare the details, but Jimmy knows what I'm talking about. It will come around. I mean, that saying has been around. I mean, and there's a reason for that. What goes around comes around. There's a reason for that.
And there's
you got to understand something too, that you can get your karma through a next lifetime too.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And people don't understand that. So it doesn't, people get well, I hope this person da. Well, you want to know what?
That's nothing to mess around with.
On yourself, like God, the universe, higher power. Deal with it.
You made mention of
and it's nothing to joke around with. No. That's nothing to mess around with, because in this life or the next, like you said, it will come back to you.
And some things will happen in your lifetime that were, devastating to you, but it was kind of a karma lesson you might have had to learn from a past life yourself, or just something in general. And then there's also things, there are things that maybe each of us can look back on and be like, damn, I feel like I was the bad guy in that story. Or, somebody can tell a story and you're the bad guy in their story. But the truth about it is that the way that the karma works is that, maybe you were that lesson to that person. Maybe you weren't the bad guy. You know what I'm saying? They've turned it into bad guy to make themselves feel self-righteous, but like it really what it is a lesson for them.
To the other person to teach them a lesson is what it is.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. That's
what it is.
Thank you.
You can be a mirror to another person to teach them a lesson. And so it's not necessarily karma.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard there's people out there that are clowns? They're considered clowns in certain Native American cultures. They go around showing people, I think is what it is, their selves. You know what I mean?
Okay, I think I know what you're talking about.
I think that I can't remember all of it. Excuse me, but yeah, so we have every right to protect ourselves. Okay, people need to understand that we have every right to protect ourselves, and a lot of people look at that as being bad, and it's not bad.
You were speaking on the Heyoka, right?
I believe I can't see that. I'm sorry.
No, it's Heyoka, and they're out of. It's a kind of sacred clown in the culture of the Sioux, Lakota, Dakota people of the Great Plains of North America, and he's a jester or satirist who speaks and moves and reacts in opposite fashion to the people around them, only having visions of the thunder beings of the West. And a name that I can't say, and who are recognized as such by the community, can take on the ceremonial role. It's it's like a social role. Like I see where it's talking about. Of course, I'll share a link with this too. But I see what you're saying, and how it that makes sense. Like the going around and showing the satirical side of this stuff and.
Well, the thing is people think there's judgment and then there's discernment, and people are like, no, they're both the same. No, they're not. Judgment is judging somebody before you give them a chance. Discernment is listening to your guides and your and your higher self running through your body saying, no, get away from this person.
Yep.
And it's okay. It's okay. You're given that connection to your higher self, to you, to protect yourself.
Gut instinct is one of those things I always like to reiterate to folks.
Always trust that.
Always trust that thing, because that's some of that connection to the divine hitting you in a different place. And like when you get that I've had some mischievous chimes in my past, as a child and stuff like that, and people always were like, well, how did you get out of there? I was like, because your gut tells you when it's time for you to get out of the situation, so you're not in trouble. Like
exactly. You can also feel an energy shift too. Some people feel the energy shift where it goes from like, really to like, it drops and it
Oh,
drops fast. And
yeah.
it's like, get out now because trouble's coming.
And I can sense that too, like walking into a room, like meeting new people or being around people and stuff like that. Like I've always been real keen to being like, oh, this energy coming from right here is not, not my situation. I need to be away from this. Like I can't, you know what I mean? Or
Wait until you start seeing the energy auras of buildings, the energy coming off, and you see the black clouds and the gray clouds over buildings.
I wish I could
or
get other
over
people that understand
are
that
very
too.
demonic.
Yes.
I think there are
Yes.
just some things. I mean, I think there are just some things that I would rather leave unseen except to those that are better equipped to handle that sort of thing.
I promise I'm not equipped to handle it, but it's there.
I wouldn't be very well equipped to like handle having to like, because I can't imagine like I don't want to say curses can be both good and bad. I guess there can be pros and cons.
Sure.
I wouldn't.
I don't believe any curse can be good. I mean, because that's a struggle. A curse is coming from like evil. I mean, and it's bad. It's struggle. It's deprivation. It could be sorrow. It could be anything that the person curses upon you. I mean, there's small ones. That people.
I wouldn't want to be burdened. Let me not curse, but I wouldn't want to be burdened with having to see on a day-to-day basis the energy surrounding buildings and people and not being able to turn it off.
Yeah, well, you're talking to somebody that sees that.
And once it comes on, it doesn't go away.
Once it comes on, it doesn't go off.
No.
I
mean, you can control it.
You can kind of. I've learned to kind of shut it down and everything. To a certain extent,
sure.
But I still get flashes like out of the corner. Well, I can't say flashes. I've seen full apparitions. I've seen a demon come in with somebody over at the Texaco gas station across the street from me, diagonal from me, and it went, and I was like, dear God, please do not let it come to me. Please do not let it follow me. Dear God, dear God, dear God. And I got away from the guy, and the thing floated through the back end of the cooler, where the guy came in the door and he went straight back to the beer and everything. What is beer? Beer is spirits. Beer is low. It can be abused. It can be a lowering of your energy. And it went right back to the cooler. And then somebody came out of the cooler, and that was the third cashier or third attendant. So, this stuff is real. I've seen a demon attached to a car that I was passing. I said a prayer for those people. I've seen demons standing inside of windows looking out. I try to post pictures like I'm looking for places to move. Okay. And I always zoom in and click on the pic because my guides tell me there's one right there. And I can see spirits. I can see the demons. And I zoom in and I try to circle it and educate the people on my Instagram of what to look for, and things like, for instance, in a normal building, with the natural light and the windows opened up, there should be some form of bright light coming through that window, right? It shouldn't be all black. If the window is all black and there is no natural light coming in there, there is something dark there. That is my experience that I have noticed that it's been valid. And then later on, you look through and then there's an entity or a demon there, and stuff. So I've taught a few people that too. When you go look, take pictures, look, if you have any questions, send them my way, I'll circle them. And, just like I have pictures of stones where there's spirits trapped in crystals and people don't believe me. And crystals are living. People don't understand crystals are living. I have pictures of literally spirits trapped in these, and you can see their faces. So, there's even one of a fairy trapped in there too, in a clear quartz.
So not only will I back up your claim of things like fairies and demons and spirits being locked in crystals, like that's yes, 100%. Like I will stand with you on that, but that was also somewhere that they've stored information. Crystals were, I am 100% convinced that crystals were, especially a lot of your quartz crystals, were used in the sense that like a CD is. Information was laser etched into these crystals. And I think that a lot of these crystals there's crystals out there that hold ridiculous amounts of information that people couldn't fathom.
Let's clear that up. Naturally occurring crystals, not manufactured ones.
Naturally occurring crystals.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes. Because even
Very
most of your
valid
diamond,
point
even
right
most
there.
of your diamonds on the market nowadays are made in a factory because they figured out how to make them.
Yep.
And see, this brings up, okay, wow. I don't want to compare this. But it is the last witch hunter with Vin Diesel made a very good point at the very beginning. Some amateur witches were messing around with crystals and causing some serious problems, and he had to step in and clear it up. That can actually have serious consequences when you do stuff like that. Like we're talking natural crystals.
You have to know what you're doing with those. You can't. You got to be
don't
careful
know
with that
if you
stuff.
don't know what you're doing, there can be serious consequences. I also want to bring up something that not many people know about. If you go fucking around with mirrors, that can have the same consequences too, man. No.
Exactly. Just like certain placements in your home of mirrors. Like
Yes.
I used to collect mirrors. A lot of people say, well, you meet people that have a lot of mirrors, it's vanity. No, I collected them because a lot of them were old and they were very beautiful. Okay. But then I started noticing things through taking pictures, like things coming out of the mirrors, like somebody shaking, like a shake scratch with their nail or a screwdriver in the mirror. One day it would be an A, the next day it would be a W, the next day it would be an X, and I was like, no. And then as I grew with my gifts and everything, I was like, no, I'm not going to do this. I do know you can scry. You can scry through water too. You can see through water. You can see in crystals and things like that. I mean, there's so much there. I mean, there are tools here to help and teach, and it depends upon the person's using them, their intentions, and their true heart about it too. Okay.
Yes.
If they are here their intention is to do evil and call upon demonic energies and open portholes, okay, then yeah. But if it's not, and they protect themselves and they know they're protected and their guides and their angels let them know that they're there, then it can be done for a tool in a positive way. Okay. It can be a positive way. There's some shit. There's this lady. She's on Instagram. And she's changed her name a couple of times of her business. She's got two of them, excuse me. She's very knowledgeable in sacred geometry. Okay. And I was working a case out of Colorado. And I told them there's something underneath that rug. It could be covered up dried blood, but there's something underneath there that's enhancing the paranormal in your basement. Okay. And sure enough, they got underneath there, and all four corners, somebody had pulled back the rug and put it down like it wasn't pulled up. And they found this one sacred geometry, and they put them on the pool table and took screenshots and showed me. Okay. And so I took it to her, and she said, that is sacred geometry. But she goes, that's one that can literally open up portals. And she goes, I'm not going to, and I was telling her, talking to her a little bit, not telling her about the case and stuff like that. And she goes, I don't do what you do. She goes, I don't want to do what you do. But she goes, I said, well, I came to you because I know you're very knowledgeable about sacred geometry, and I've never seen this one before. And she said, yes, that one is used to open up portals. And I mean, it opened up, oh my gosh, a can of worms for these people that purchased this house.
Well, and that also brings up, we were talking about, like ancient times, and we're sitting here talking about mirrors and stuff like that too, and scribing and stuff like that. Like it's hard to find now when you're searching around the internet because there was a show named after it, and it makes everything that you're looking for impossible anymore. It's, this is a common thing, but
Right.
actual black mirrors, that was something used by usually people with male intent in the past. You know what I'm saying? Like they weren't always used for positive things, but it's not really a theory. Like I've tried to explain to people before that, they're carrying a black mirror device now. A black mirror device was something that, they were talking about during like nights and times and stuff, like, wizards and such were using black mirrors or whatever.
Mhm.
And I'm definitely one of those guys that thinks that there's I'm right there with Bandit. Like their mirrors can be a portal into another realm.
They are.
Mirrors,
Well, see, the thing
and
is,
you were talking about placement and stuff. Like there's some truth to that too. Like I'll be the first person to tell you that it's not wise to sleep in front of a mirror. Like that's something I don't recommend you doing. And there's a few other things in there when you start getting into mirror lore, and I've actually already found a few things that I'm going to share with us about this, because this is one of them things that's a favorite of mine, and I don't think people understand just quite how powerful a mirror could be. Where there's always those old wives' tales when we were growing up. The whole Bloody Mary, or even Candyman and stuff like
Yeah, I
that.
remember that.
They use those ideas of speaking it into the mirror and her appearing and stuff like that, and it's just like, whoa, you're messing with some dark magic at that point. You know what I'm saying? And that's definitely something that I believe is plausible. I know I'm backing up. I'm right there with you. Like mirrors are definitely could be used as portals to other realms, portals to other places. Like I also believe that you could travel from one mirror to another. Like if you were to ever get trapped in the mirror realm, it would totally be that thing that everybody talks about on the internet, the back rooms. Like that's your mirror realm. That's your mirror realm, man. There's some stuff there. Like
Have you seen that video on TikTok where the girl is standing next to a mirror and
and her
she's
face
looking at us,
moves
and
without
then
her moving.
her eyes move
Yeah.
one way and her face just stays the same.
She actually moved the other. Yeah.
Yeah. That stuff does happen. That stuff does happen. You know what? I moved into the place I'm at, and I forgot I didn't pay attention to the closet doors in my bedroom. They are mirrored. That's where one of the portholes is in here. Okay. You know what? The first thing I did is I covered that thing up with a white sheet. I duct taped it on the back side of it, and I covered up both of them with a white sheet because I felt I was being watched, and I was. And what's funny is I talked to this other lady. She went by Cherokee Rain on TikTok, and man, talk about a quinky dink, she, her and I were talking, video talking, and she goes, "Show me where the portal is." And I did. And she goes, "Oh my gosh." She goes, "It looks outside." She goes, "I see outside. I see trees." And I'm like, "No." I said, "All I see is my clothes." She goes, "No, I see trees. You definitely have a portal there." And I know I do. Every time they try to come through, or they do come through, well, the gatekeeper, Shamira, they lets them through and everything. It bangs. It literally bangs.
What were you going to say a minute ago, Bandit?
We're talking about a lot of things that I always like to make a point sometimes when stuff like this comes up that I think Hollywood does a really good job of trying to portray all of this stuff as just make-believe. Because we all know who runs Hollywood.
Oh yeah.
But see, you really have to. There's two sides. There's two sides to movies that kind of just like try to like paint this stuff as like made up in fantasy land and stuff like that. Oh, it doesn't exist. One, it really does exist, and they're just trying to like sweep it under the carpet. And two, and this goes with a lot of different things Jimmy and I have discussed on the show, is every idea for a book or a movie or a video game, a comic book, those ideas have come from somewhere in something that is rooted in truth.
Mm-hmm.
All of it.
Nothing new under the sun.
Yeah, nothing new under the sun. It's all come from something based in some type of truth, some type of either written material or something passed down verbally. You know,
That's where a lot of things are lost.
Yeah, you can't just make something up. You know what I mean? When it comes to something like that, you have to get the idea from something you've read, something you've seen, or something you've experienced, some way, shape, or form like that.
This to me is the importance of, you know, back in the day, you know, before they started writing it down, I guess you would say your elders and your men were the ones who came back with your stories. You know, they passed these stories down to their young, who passed them to theirs and stuff like that. You know, what this was, and you know, 100%. You know, like that. I'll bring it up time and time again. You know that Tolkien or whatever, in stuff that they talk about where he was being talked to, he wrote the idea of the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit and stuff off of historical documents he found at the library where he was growing up. Like, so basically he found the documented proof that elves and fairies and dwarves and giants and dragons and hobbits and everything else were out here running around all in their different territories. And I totally 100% am the guy that is going to be like, yes, absolutely. And mermaids are real too. And plenty of other things that they try to tell you are make believe. And Hollywood will do a great job at painting it as either something completely evil or something that's good. And here's a trick that I've picked up throughout the years is the things Hollywood seems to demonize seem to be usually actually a good thing. And the things that they're trying to shove down our throat on a constant basis are rooted in this evil side of things or dark side of things, if you will. You know, like I know good and evil is one of those things where you're like, oh, that's a relevance type issue, but that's why I light and dark it. You know what I'm saying? Like there's either light intentions, positive intentions, or there's dark intentions, selfish intentions. And all these people in Hollywood, all these people in the government, all these, you know, people that seem to be in endless power, even though they're complete assholes, are using these same gifts or whatever, but they either weren't blessed with them or they were showed them by someone else and they're using them for personal gain. And
see, what they don't realize is
one day it'll bite them back.
We in turn can use those same things they're using for evil. We can in turn use them for good against them. And
that's why we have people like Miss Vicki, because that's what she's out here doing, is using stuff like that for positive stuff. And there's I will say, you're not alone, and we're not alone anymore. Like, more of us have come to the surface in the past few years than ever before in my lifetime. And it's good to see a lot more people spreading this kind of message and trying to do that love and light, or however you want to face it. You know, I cover it in the laughter area because I've just figured out that if you can make someone laugh, you can get their guard down and you can hopefully teach them something cool. Because I mean, that's I guess an underlying message in this whole entire episode is that I don't think that there's ever really like a good outcome or a bad outcome. I think everything is a lesson. It's either a lesson, a blessing, or something. You know what I'm, like the whole saying about people being for a season and stuff like that. All of that I think is intertwined into one. And like sure, a situation might be bleak and bad and scary, or you might be going through something tough, but the wisest people I know have gone through the worst shit of their entire life. And
A lot of my information comes from going through
yes,
and not
yes,
having anybody to help me.
yes,
It comes from trauma.
yes,
It does.
Yeah. But
me too.
when I've reached out, I've noticed when I've reached out to people that supposedly knew of what I was talking about, they wouldn't help. I'm a firm believer. I will help people. My DM on Instagram is always open. I don't charge people to ask a question, because that's giving back. You know what I'm saying? And I've helped a lot of people that way.
Forward.
And if they want, pay it forward. If they want to flip me 5 or 10, that's up to them. But I do charge for my casework, and I do charge for my in-depth mediumship, because it's more than that. It's healing work too.
As you should, though. I mean, that's your
physically,
job.
It's physically and mentally taxing. It really is.
And you should be compensated in some way.
It can be. I used to do that all for free, all my life, and I didn't pay any attention to it really. But as things when I got taken to the next level, and it was very, very intense, my last awakening went from 2010 all the way up until 2017. That's a pretty intense awakening process. And people got to understand something. This is what I like to bring up too. A lot of people are under the misunderstanding that awakenings just happen and they stop. Mm-mm. That's not how it goes. Awakenings come on, and you don't have a choice how intense the level is.
No.
And then they turn around and they'll fade out. And then the divine says, okay, is this person going to work with it? How are they accepting it? Are they going to take it to the next level? And then boom, it slows down and it comes back to the next level. So I just wanted to clear that up, because there's a lot of misconception about, it just stops. No, it doesn't.
It never. Once you venture down the rabbit hole, you fall forever. Like there's never.
But some of us are just born awake. That's the significance of my name, Born Awake Oracle, is because I was literally born awake. Like I said, I remember my birth. I remember being in the womb. I even described what the doctor looked like that delivered me to my grandmother, and she remembers the doctor because she was there when he came out and said it's a girl.
Wow. Yeah, I mean,
I did, and her mouth just fell open. I remember being a baby, a newborn baby, flying over to Nebraska to see my relatives. I remember not understanding them. My great grandmother was 102, and my great grandfather, he was like 101 or 100. And so they were very old. I remember I couldn't understand them. Because they spoke different than my parents, and everything. Yeah. And then I remember being in the plane. My mom was sitting next to the window seat, and I remember looking out on the fields, and they looked like burnt toast or toasted toast, of the fields of Nebraska and everything that we flew over. I remember the house. I remember the tree. I remember what they were wearing and everything, right?
Yeah.
I even remember my room, and I remember the first encounter that I had with the shadow being hanging over my crib and screaming, and my grandmother coming in, and then my mom rushing in and scooping me up, and they couldn't calm me down. Okay. So, I mean, all this stuff. So later on, my grandmother, she wasn't doing very well, and I went over there to stay. God rest her soul. But I told her all this stuff, and her mouth fell open. And all of a sudden, she walked out of the living room, through the kitchen, into her bedroom, and I didn't know what she was doing. She came back out with this photo album book about this thick, and I'd never seen it before. Okay.
Yeah.
And she started opening up the photo album book and showing me my great grandparents as I described them, and the house And she said they spoke pure Dutch. That's why I didn't understand them. And she said, yes, your mom turned around and said on the plane next to the window and everything. And she said, yeah, if you look over the fields when it's hot out, they look like burnt or toasted toast, like really toasted toast of the fields of Nebraska and everything. And so yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of stuff. This is something that I would like to create later on in a book and share with people, because there are people out there that do remember their births and things, and they don't realize it. Some of them do, some of them don't, and some of them just think that it's just.
It's scary. I didn't mean freakish in a bad way. I meant that is just, I have no concept of how that would go. I can't even, my brain can't process that. Remembering, if I was to remember my birth.
But see, that's okay. That's okay.
But that's why we have you, Miss Vicki.
But you know what? You're at a different level. We're all at different levels.
Yes.
And you're not at that level yet. See? Yeah. But your gifts will be coming out more the more you keep doing this, and the more you keep believing, and not denying and doubting what you're seeing, the more your gifts will start coming out.
We're gonna head into a tract I don't like to talk about. I have a toddler. I have a toddler running around the house, and I always like to make mention of, when stuff like this comes up, that kids at that 2 and under phase age, they can see and hear and experience things that we as adults, a lot of us, have turned off or become desensitized. They can see things that we can't, and they can feel things that we can't. They are most certainly there. Yeah, we just have we have been corrupted by the world, and they have not yet. And that's that the innocence of a child. Yes, that is exactly what that means. They have not been corrupted by the world, because I'm telling you, some of the most intense supernatural moments have been when I've been around my toddler.
That's because your child's gifted.
Oh. No. Yes.
Your child's gifted.
Yes, and I won't get into. No, I won't get. I can't get into this. I can't do this right now.
Okay, no, I understand. I respect that. I just said it. You didn't have to acknowledge it. You could just, So, well, but I'm just going to say this: a lot of children being born these days are very gifted. People are noticing that babies are lifting their heads a lot sooner than they were before. Doing movements and
the pandemic babies.
Pardon me?
The pandemic babies are different.
Yeah, because a lot of them are
born in a
crystal children and
born in a very trying and just very trying time for the world, I guess, that can bring about children that are especially gifted, I would say.
They're growing faster too.
Oh,
they are our next.
They are.
The children being born are the ones that are the next ones to take and teach and heal, and you know what I'm saying? They're here. They're the next generations to take on where others have left off because they've passed away or gone on, and things. So, and people don't understand that. People are like, and I pointed out, oh my gosh, it just seems like you just gave birth yesterday, and all of a sudden, boom, they're already doing this and this and this, and they're like, oh, I know, But oh gosh, there was something I was going to say. I can't remember what I was going to say.
Next generation of warriors is here.
Yes. And the thing is the biggest thing is don't ever doubt. Don't ever doubt your gifts. I'm going to bring this up out of the blue, and a lot of people may not like me for this, and that's okay. But I believe question everything and think about everything and do your research on everything, okay? I'm going to the Bible. I like to bring up the Bible for a second.
What Bible are you using right now?
I'm going to be talking about King James and King James Version Bible.
King James version's okay.
Okay. Who owns the copyrights to that? Queen Elizabeth. Queen Elizabeth owns the copyrights to the New King James Version Bible. Okay. Don't you find that kind of odd? And why was it when King James rewrote the Bible, he outlawed the Geneva Bible?
It's a very great question.
I mean, honestly, these are supposed to be words from God. Okay, you have a king that came in and rewrote the Bible and named it King James Version or New King James Version. They're always changing something in the Bible, okay, and stuff. And Queen Elizabeth owns the copyrights to it. So isn't that odd? Because no one should own the rights to the Word of God. We all should own the rights within ourselves. You see what I'm saying?
I do.
And why did he outlaw the Geneva Bible? See this? So this is food for thought. This is to get to thinking. I wanted to plant this in your head so people, could do a little more research and stuff, because I'm limited on what I have here to, because it seems I've noticed something that every time I get on the internet to try to look on something, that I am not finding a lot of stuff that I think they have me blocked or something. I mean, it's not weird, but it's true.
No. This was something I was kind of saying a minute ago. They, over the past 10 to 15 years, they have released a lot of things, whether it be movies, books, music, and it is titled after a lot of the stuff that we talk about either on this show or things that you may post about or things that I just talk about in general. And that way, when you go to search for it, all you're finding is the pop culture item of it and not the original theories and stuff like that. And on top of that, they have been doing a good job at deleting a few chunks of the internet because Google's good about that. But there are ways around that, and we do we do try to share the websites and stuff like that. Like I've shared it a bunch of episodes and stuff. Gearboo is probably my number one recommendation as far as a search one, because it allows you to see the things that Google deletes. So there is some truth to that. But I do got to say that Miss Vicki, it was such a pleasure to once again have you this evening, and I thank you so much for you spending some time with us and whatnot. And before we get out of here, I'd like to let you go ahead and plug anything or any last minute thoughts or anything you'd like to throw out there.
No, I just really, really believe that people need to start protecting themselves a lot more spiritually. Quiet their mind enough to start listening to their self and their higher self. If you see something, don't doubt it, because that'll help bring out your gifts more. Seek somebody that you feel you can trust in for information to help teach you, if that's the case, or to learn about it. And buckle your seatbelts, because baby, it's going to be a bumpy ride.
well, you guys, of course, I will have Miss Vicki's Instagram linked with this episode as well over there at the Born Awake Oracle. And like she said earlier, her DMs are open and stuff. If you have questions about this kind of stuff, she's definitely somebody I'd recommend you reach out to and speak to, because she knows her stuff. She knows what she's talking about. And that's another reason I appreciate having her over here and appreciate all you're out there doing.
Thank you.
It makes me feel better knowing that I'm not in this fight alone. So I can't thank you enough for being kind enough to come on here and share some stories and just carry on a good conversation with us.
You're welcome. I just try to get people to think, that's why I brought up that last, situation with the Bible. Kind of makes you kind of wonder there. So,
Absolutely. Bandit, you got anything for me on this closeout?
Oh, always a pleasure. Always a pleasure to have Miss Vicki on. Always.
Thank you. I really appreciate you guys. You guys are great. I love being on your guys' podcast. You guys are great.
We'll make sure that we'll get you back in the rotation and have you back again soon for sure. No doubt in my mind at all. And
thank you so much.
anything we've talked about tonight, you guys, that I've brought up on the screen or, tried to read off to you, you guys know we'll have copies of the links there with this episode where you can find it everywhere, that we got things going on with it. And as you guys know, we've been doing the sticker giveaway. Well, I've got some great news. We've got some brand new stickers that are different from the last set. And I'm going to change up the way we're doing the pirate questions. So instead of something silly, I'm going to ask you actually something you might have to think on or something you might even have to look up. And that's okay. I understand. But we're going to do some real pirate trivia over the next couple of weeks. And Miss Vicki was here for tonight's first premiere one. So you guys know to go over there to unconstitutionalawakening.com to find all these links. And you can also answer the question underneath the episode for this one. So tonight's question is... Who was considered to be the most successful pirate who captured more than 400 ships in 3 years? This is going to be a multiple choice question because I like to try to give you a little bit of a hand up. So is it A, Bartholomew Roberts, B, William Kidd, or C, Charles Gibbs? You guys can go over to unconstitutionalawakening.com to answer that question. You'll also be able to find the links to get to Miss Vicki and again, everything that we've talked about tonight. So I guess it's time to weigh anchor and we're going to get on out of here. So bye, everyone.